Ciao a tutti ragazzi e bentornati sul mio canale. Finalmente arriva questo video che è, credo, uno dei più attesi per quanto riguarda il mio viaggio in California alla BlizzCon. Sapete che vi ho detto da subito che avrei avuto la possibilità di intervistare degli sviluppatori del nostro gioco preferito e così è stato. Infatti il 2 di novembre, subito dopo la cerimonia iniziale, quindi fate conto che mentre si teneva il pannello What's Next di Hearthstone in cui annunciavano delle nuove carte eccetera, io ho intervistato gli sviluppatori, quindi purtroppo c'è stato proprio, è stato in contemporanea, quindi alcune cose non le avevo viste e così via e le abbiamo chieste durante l'intervista. Ho potuto intervistare Dave Kosak, che è lead mission designer in Hearthstone, quindi questo significa che lui è colui che si occupa essenzialmente della modalità single player, ok? Quando vediamo le spedizioni, puzzle lab, eccetera, lui è colui che si occupa principalmente di quello. E poi ho avuto l'opportunità di intervistare anche Hadidjah Chamberlin, che è una FX artist, ossia si occupa delle animazioni delle carte. Quando giochiamo una carta, l'effetto che va a creare, per esempio uno degli effetti più belli che ha creato è stato quello della carta Vulcano, dello Shaman, ma anche gli effetti comunque sia in generale su Hearthstone, delle classi e così via. Quindi insomma sono due ottimi sviluppatori che ho avuto modo di intervistare. Capite bene che state per guardare un'intervista, vi ho appena detto la carica che ricoprono queste persone in Blizzard. È chiaro che non gli posso andare a chiedere una cosa sugli sport, sulla modalità torneo e le solite informazioni che chiunque vuole sapere, ma ricordatevi sempre che in interviste come questa, pur chiedendo della modalità torneo, uno sviluppatore non ti risponderà mai con la risposta effettiva perché non te la può dare, quindi loro rispondono solo ed esclusivamente alle domande non scomode e di cose non ancora top secret. Quindi detto questo, io spero davvero che l'intervista vi piacerà. Nell'intervista non sono da solo perché c'è anche Arnold Stess, che è un giornalista francese. Guardando lo schermo, alla sinistra troverete lui e alla destra io. Non ci vedrete perché il campo visivo della fotocamera e la stanza non lo permetteva, ma l'audio controllato dovrebbe essere abbastanza buono e comunque l'importante è che vediate gli sviluppatori. Detto questo, io spero davvero che il video vi piaccia, fatemi sapere poi nei commenti come sempre che cosa ne pensate e se volete trovate tutta l'intervista che vedrete adesso trascritta in un mio articolo su dailyquest.it, quindi cliccate qui sotto in descrizione e trovate l'articolo. L'ho riscritta in meno righe possibili in modo tale che sia molto più rapido leggerla. Detto questo, io vi lascio all'intervista, potete abilitare i sottotitoli tra l'altro da YouTube direttamente, quindi buona visione.
Right.
I don't know, you want to proceed, like one question each, or...
Anybody go?
Oh, like everything in a row? And
You want to shifu me this? You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you?
Okay.
Yeah.
I can start if you want.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my first question is about the new expansion.
Yeah.
You give out a new keyword. So can you explain more about it? I mean about overkill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of strange, and a lot of community actually right now asks me. I don't understand how does it work. So
Okay, yeah,
can you explain me?
Yeah, so Rostacon's Rumble is all about sort of big, glorious arena combat. And so we wanted a mechanic that sort of encouraged you to go big.
Okay.
And so Overkill, the way the keyword works is if you do more than enough damage to destroy a minion, then some kind of special effect triggers.
Okay.
And that special effect can be all kinds of things, like anything can happen. So in the card that we showed, it was Sulthrage, and it's a 4/4 weapon.
Yep.
And the overkill says you can attack again. So if you destroy a minion with 4 health, it does 4 damage, so that's no overkill.
Okay.
So you destroy the minion, but it doesn't trigger. If you attack a minion that only has 2 health,
Okay.
then you do more than enough damage, so the overkill triggers. And in the case of the weapon, overkill lets you attack again.
In this case, it triggers one time or 2 times?
One time.
One
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Okay.
But then if you destroy another minion, if you
Okay.
overkill again, then it'll trigger again.
Okay.
So you can keep, if you have a whole bunch of small minions on the board, you can keep wailing away with this sword.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, and it
Okay.
kind of, we think like it was a good card to show off that mechanic because it kind of embodies what we want to get across with this expansion. It's that big, overpowered combat, big, crazy, flashy moves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And since he asked you about this new mechanic, and you just announced the Warrior new card, which is called Sultrace, I wanted to ask you if this new card for you is better than Foolsbane, if we can compare it, because Foolsbane was a card in which you cannot attack face, and it was not so it wasn't so really playable in standard mode, I think. Do you think that with this new mechanic it will be possible to see more discard in standard?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, because and Hadidjah can attest to this. We have players of all different skill level on the Hearthstone team, and I'm not very good, so I couldn't tell you. That's an interesting comparison. I'm really curious what your readers think, which is more powerful.
Because I think that in general, warrior cards are warrior weapons, especially, are really hard to balance, in my opinion, because there is that gap in which you can attack face, you cannot attack face. If you do a weapon that has a really good attack, it is probably good for aggro warrior. So, are you thinking about balancing warrior weapons with this new mechanic, with this new card?
I think this card with this mechanic is really interesting for us because it's a very tactical card. So just base, if you wanted to attack face over the course of 4 turns, you could do 16 damage to face. So that's pretty good. Or you can be a little more tactical with it and take advantage of that overkill and maybe destroy a smaller minion and then use that extra attack to go face. So you have some choices for what to do with all that damage. And that, I think, is what Hearthstone's all about, is about choices.
Okay.
We'll have to see how much play it sees in Final once the whole set's out and everyone can kind of judge how it falls. But yeah, we're excited about it.
I have a question about maybe esports in general. We see during ceremony there's a special place for esports, especially in Hearthstone. My community wants to know if you find really the actually esports in Hearthstone really healthy. Like I think my colleague can approve it, but in Europe there's a lot of players that have to connect on each side of the world, like they have to try in US, then try in EU, then try in Asia to get their prompt. Do things that really healthy actually for the sport, or do you want to maybe change it?
Not sure I understand the question. Are they having trouble connecting locally? Is that?
No, actually, so to get HCT points, so you have players that just try on the US later, then on EU later, then on Asia later.
I see.
So,
they try to collect points on different ladders.
And this is just the last day of the month. They have absolutely to just win.
Right. Florence, do you know if we're changing up the HCT rules any?
I don't think we can at this point. I'd prefer the esports person to comment.
We'll find someone who's a little more up on esports because I designed the mission content for Hearthstone Rumble, and Hadidjah here is one of our effects artists. So all the cool effects. Something we're real excited about with the troll Loa. They have like really big splashy effects when they come into play that Hadidjah and her team are working on.
And in fact, one question that I wanted to ask you is about animations into Hearthstone and on Rastakan's Rumble. How did you exalt the spirit of this new brand expansion with your animation? What is also the class of the single player mode that you enjoyed the most to create, to design?
It's hard to pick a favorite. I'm always a little bit biased towards Warlock just because they have a lot of really fun colors to work with.
Just seeing it on the main stage, it's really cool.
But yeah, for this, it was really fun because it was like so much about like these teams and the class identity and everyone kind of rallying behind that, and we kind of wanted to get that across in the visuals as well. So for each of the team's spirits, their rare cards, they have a very similar effect, but it's like colored differently and has like the different team like Loa mascot to go with it. So that was one of the ways that we kind of used effects to kind of celebrate like this kind of team spirit thing. And then for the Loa themselves, I actually got a lot of inspiration from the early animatics for the cinematic that they showed, of just like those like kind of really like sort of wispy spirit versions of the Loa kind of become like coming down onto the arena and kind of becoming more physical. So that was a big influence on the Loa themselves, was kind of those spiritual versions imbuing the minions and like coming down.
Yeah, that moment where Krogwa, the frog, this giant frog, just materializes over the arena and eats somebody. Super fun.
And how do you find the inspiration to create your animations?
It's one of the fun things about effects is that you get like you can kind of look anywhere and get an idea. Like for this one, a lot of it was like the very early versions of the cinematic and seeing how they were showing the Loa, pulling a lot from like what's already there in Hearthstone. Just looking at a ton of different games. We looked at WoW a lot for this one, of course, because we're borrowed a couple of their models and animations and kind of Hearthstone-ified them for this. So it's it's a lot of different places, but it's super fun.
Designers and artists always get together and we have brainstorming meetings, and inevitably we're all like, yeah, we should have a giant dinosaur and these big footprints and it comes up out of the stage, and it's going to take us like 6 months to animate that, and we're like, okay, settle down. What can we do?
Dave is a constant source of inspiration.
So you saw part of the panel. Did you get to see part of the panel?
Just a little
bit. Yeah.
Like 30 minutes.
So we have 9 teams, and every team has their champion. That's the troll champion that kind of leads the team, and that's one legendary card for that class. There's another legendary card for the class, and that represents the Loa. And I think at the panel we showed Hyreek the Bat. And you got to see, I think you got to see Hyreek come into play in those big purple kind of warlock effects. And also, then we have those cards, the spirit cards that we were just talking about. And the spirits are rare cards, so you can have a couple in your deck. And they have stealth for 1 turn, and then some kind of cool effect. And because they're stealthy for 1 turn, you sort of can take advantage of that effect. The spirit of the bat, every time a friendly minion dies, a minion in your hand gets +1/+1.
Oh, I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah. So that obviously the warlock is getting bigger and bigger creatures. The more you're sacrificing, it fits in with the theme of Hyreek. You're sacrificing it to this bat god, and then your minions are getting more powerful. Well, Hyreek the bat, the Loa himself, is was it 8 mana 1/1? Yeah, it's an 8 mana 1/1. It's a steal, 8 mana 1/1. It's already great. But it fills the board with copies of itself as a battle cry. So if you can combine these 2 effects together, you sort of feed the blood god in your hand, and hopefully you get like an 8 mana 5/5 or something that fills the board. The spirits and the Loa really work together to help sort of both give you your team like an identity, and also give you like really cool combos to play. And we have 9 of these, and so 9 teams and 9 Loa and 9 champions, and it really you really get the feeling of a big epic clash between these champions. Yeah.
Actually, it's interesting because it's about 1 year, I think, that it's no more Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. It's
just Hearthstone, yeah.
And it's the second time that you are really, really near a WoW expansion. Like before, we just don't know who really was taken with it. And just now, you reveal this expansion. Do you exchange a lot with the WoW team to create this content, and even new hero? Do you create it from scratch, or do you create it from WoW story? We didn't know it.
It's a mix, and so we work very closely with the World of Warcraft team, and we also have kind of our own ideas for Hearthstone, and we just try and make sure that the 2 universes are playing together, that it's working out. Sometimes the ideas just mesh, and we'd wanted to do a troll expansion for a while. It's kind of an idea that had been kicking around, and when we when we saw what WoW was doing, it seemed like it was great timing for us, because we're like, oh, we want to do a troll expansion, and look at all the cool new stuff that's there. We can leverage some of that stuff. And so you can see with Hearthstone, we get to mix trolls from all over the history of Azeroth. So we have old raid bosses like Zul'jin, Hexlord Malakras. He's from like a dungeon in World of Warcraft from years ago. And the new characters like Princess Salanji and King Rastakhan that are very new from the Warcraft universe, as well as unique Hearthstone characters. Like we really wanted a pirate to kind of head up our rogue team, and so we created. I'm blanking on her name. Captain Hooktusk. She's actually literally got hooks on her tusk. Very Hearthstone to head up our troll pirates. And she's a new character for Hearthstone. So we mix it up and work together very closely.
Yeah, I really enjoy the new spirit cards because it is let's say a unique feature for each class.
Right.
So do you think that is a new way to build decks around? Because we have just seen the spirit of the shark. It is really good in Rogue because it is versatile. You can use it on late game. You can play Tess and
that's a good one. That's a good combo.
And but also it is versatile because you can use it in every game. You can activate turn 4 and use your combo cards. So it is a new way to build decks around, right?
Yeah, that was a big part of the goal with this expansion, was for the spirits and the Loa to really synergize and have those be a really powerful build around. And then for the troll champions, the other half of the class legendaries, they're not necessarily part of that same synergy, so you still have some options for like what kind of deck you want to build based on the cards in this. But yeah, for the spirits, we really wanted them to synergize and kind of feed into those Loa, so all of them really benefit their Loa, because the Loa made them. They want them to be good for them. So that's a running theme between all of the spirits and their Loa, and I think it makes for some really fun deck building.
Yeah, it's definitely a goal of ours to have lots of different deck building options.
I've also seen just a few minutes before leaving the main stage the new buff cards in Warlock, which is a Spirit 2. It is the I don't remember now.
Spirit of the Bat.
The Spirit of the Bat.
Yeah, Spirit of the Bat.
And it has a buff situation because it buff the attack and the health +1/+1,
right.
And it is similar to other cards that we've seen in the previous expansion. So you already knew that you were releasing this card and you wanted to create a new archetype or not?
Very often our initial and final design team are thinking both of previous sets and like tools that they put in previous sets, and as well as sets, kind of coming down the line, like what kinds of things they might involve in those sets. And so then you can kind of get a new archetype, kind of emerge from that.
So this is the last extension for the Years of Crow. For next year, do you plan with? We all know that a lot of members of I don't find the role from the start of Team 5 just left. So do you plan to have really some change about how you're gonna how to next expansions? Are you still okay with the fact that you give us 3 expansions per year, or do you want to evolve with this?
3 expansions feels like the right number right now, because it kind of keeps things fresh, but also gives people a chance to kind of settle in and figure out, kind of try and figure out the meta before it refreshes. So that feels about right. So I think that plan in the near future, we're going to stay with that. We have a really deep bench of design talent, people that have been on the team a long time, and so we have a lot of plans that we've had for a while. Keep moving forward. It's pretty exciting. We have big plans for next year. Can't wait to talk about that. But today we just announced Rastakhan's Rumble, so there's so much to talk about there.
A question for Dave about single player mode. Not only about this new expansion, but in general. In fact, I wanted to ask you a question which is related to Puzzle Labs for the project. It is correlated. I think it was a really nice single player mode, but one thing that I don't understand is there are mechanics that are really sometimes difficult to learn for new players. For example, I just take an example, the Hydra one. Okay, the puzzle lab with the Hydra. It is not so clear for a new player how to beat it. I have a friend of mine which asked me, how do I beat it? I don't know this mechanic. So, do you plan to introduce some sort of let's say database into the collection for these specific mechanics or not?
Plan to release what into the collection?
Like a sort of new additional information, let's say, for some specific cards in which you specify how some mechanics works or not.
Yeah, so a couple of the puzzles, like that Hydra puzzle, take advantage of interesting quirks of Hearthstone rules. It's kind of, we thought it's interesting to showcase that sometimes, to kind of give people a chance to experiment and see like, oh, that's how that card works. Yeah, that was an interesting interaction. I think, judging by the response from it, maybe that wasn't a good choice for a puzzle, because you kind of have to learn that or know that, and maybe that's not obvious. But something that we liked about the puzzles was that you kind of learn some of the ins and outs of Hearthstone rules that are really unusual.
Yeah, I think it was really, in fact, it was really nice to learn something about it. But I knew that that mechanic because I am a player since the beta. But sometimes new players have difficulties to just know about these features. So maybe if it is possible to have a way to know about these mechanics more than just good. Reading maybe on the patch notes, something like that.
That's good feedback. Yeah, to know. We had a lot of fun putting the puzzles together and trying to kind of have the puzzles ramp up in difficulty. Actually, Hadidjah's team did a lot of work. One of the things that really makes puzzles work for us is those quick those sort of transitions, those little victory moments that we did, transitioning from one puzzle to the next. I think we'll do more puzzles someday. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Nice, someday we'll come around to that. Great.
Yes.
There is a new single player mode coming out for Rosticon's Rumble, and we're talking about that tomorrow. So tomorrow afternoon, come by the panel. Myself and some other mission designers will be talking about what we're up to.
Okay. Yeah. I have a last question. I don't know.
No, you have time.
Okay. So it's a long question. So can you explain me your process? You have to create a new card, like from A to Z.
Yeah.
Like how much time you pass to just attribute this name card, watch effect on it, and to animate it. So how do you work actually?
Yeah, that's a fun question. Designers, there's kind of two approaches we take. What we call top-down design is where you start with a fantasy and then try and figure out what mechanic makes sense. So you take a character like Zul'jin is a really cool troll character. He's been in Warcraft. Actually, he was in Warcraft 2. He's in Heroes of the Storm. Now he's in Hearthstone. So he's got a really cool fantasy, and then we try and figure out like what would he do in Hearthstone. That's kind of top-down design. We also have bottom-up design, like hey, we want a card that's going to be give buffs to minions. And we kind of try and figure out a design for that, and then like okay, what fantasy would make sense in that? We call that bottom-up design. So we have an initial design team and a final design team, and the initial design team sort of takes the idea and the theme of the set, like it's trolls, it's King Rosticon, and they try and figure out all the kind of things the cards could do. And they actually might create as much as like 500 cards over the course of a set, and then sort of narrow that down to the 150 or so that they think are pretty good. And then that goes to our final design team, and the final design team is really looking at the game as a whole and to make sure that these cards are fun to play with and fulfill that fantasy, also don't break the game, and are balanced, which is really tricky. So they play a lot of games of Hearthstone, and they kind of dial in the numbers and pick the final set. But then there's a whole lot of other work to do. We got to figure out the art for the card, and so we have a wonderful stable of freelance artists around the world that help create the art for the cards. Then we have that brainstorming meeting we talked about, where then we loop in Hadidjah's team. We're like, okay, here's the fantasy. what should the card do, what should it look like, and then those guys noodle with it for a while. And then what am I missing? I guess our sound team.
They do an amazing job.
Oh, that's right. Then we have to write the VO. So what does the card say when it comes into play? And then we have to cast it and go into the studio, and that's always super fun for us. We actually drive up to Los Angeles where there's a recording studio, and we actually have voice actors from all over the world. So sometimes we're calling in remotely to places in Poland or Berlin or wherever to get voice actors to do our readings. And then our sound team puts together, monster growls and all the other kinds of things they do. And then the sound team kind of does it at the very end. That way they can see Hadidjah's art. Mm-hmm. They can see the whole thing come into play. They know what the effect is going to be. And then they put together the sound. And, yeah.
They're kind of on both ends of it, because like sound starts on VO.
Audio, that's true. Early for audio, because we have to record it and localize it. All of our cards have to be localized.
Yeah.
And sorry.
I'm just wrapping up.
Then on the we also work really closely with both audio and design for the effects, which is really fun. For all of the legendaries, we're talking with audio super early, because they're getting in the VO and they're getting in all of the legendary stinger music and stuff. So they have a really good sense of like what's the tone for this card, like what kind of mood are we trying to set with it. So we key a lot off of what they do for, in addition to like the art and the mechanics and everything for the effects. And then they come in again at the end and make all of the effects sound amazing. So it's
Rasticon's Rumble has some great legendaries. So we have these all 9 troll champions, and then the 9 Laura. Really, really cool stuff. Yeah.
Sorry, we are done now.
No, we are done?
Yeah, we are done. Sorry.
Just last, very, very fast.
No, we need to...
Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
Okay.
That was super fun. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy, yeah.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
It was
Thank
nice
you.
talking to you.
Wait for you in Italy again.
Anytime. Flo wants to send me to Italy, I'm back.
Okay.
For sure. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah,
Thank you both.